Hey guys, we are live just about a minute or so before we kick things off with Ask Jungle Scout. So as everyone's kind of jumping in at the moment, let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat box below. I'm kind of keeping an eye on that one as we go. Still have about another 30 seconds or so. So just while we're waiting for people to jump in, I just wanted to do a shout out for Greg's live webinar, which was on Tuesday, unveiling a new product or a new feature, updated feature within Jungle Scout, a new keyword research tool, newly improved. So if you want to learn about how that works, then make sure to check out that whole demonstration and webinar that Greg did. The replay is on our channel. Right, I might just give it another few seconds for some more people to join. Hey, Brian from California, thanks for joining. Got Rolando in there from the $1 Million Case Study. Shout out to him. He does a lot of work behind the scenes here at Jungle Scout. So make sure to say hi to Rolando in the chat box and give him some love. Hi there from New Jersey. Thank you for joining. Awesome to have you guys in there. Hello from Rwanda. Got a few people joining from, looks like all over the place. That's very awesome to see. All right, so looks like we're just over the hour, so let's kick things off. Hey guys, welcome to Ask Jungle Scout, episode number 5. Today I'm going to be answering all of your top FBA questions, so if you do have any burning FBA questions, make sure to drop them in the comment section below. All right, so as always, I'm going to start off by answering a few pre-submitted questions or comments that have come into Jungle Scout, and then we're going to dive into the chat box to answer your top questions. I can see that there's a couple in there already, so if you do have any questions related to Amazon or FBA, Jungle Scout, whatever the case may be, drop them in the chat box now, and I'll do my best to answer them momentarily. All right, but into the first pre-submitted question or comment. This one comes from DGamer TV. Hey, great video. Where can I check out the Academy? This was a comment we got the other day relating to our new feature, the Academy, which is a whole heap of Amazon FBA education within Jungle Scout. We've got product tutorials, but then a whole A to Z on how to sell on Amazon. So you can find that one inside of Jungle Scout. Question from Boxer22. How is the Academy different to the $1 Million Case Study? Is it more in-depth and more up-to-date info? That's a great question. So how does it differ? Well, essentially, the Academy really takes the $1 Million Case Study and breaks it down into little chunks. Okay, so it makes it even further in depth, more step by step, and it organizes it very, very well in the form of a course. So inside of Jungle Scout, you can see all the modules, or it's all, the lessons are organized by modules. You can get a little tick as you go through each of the lessons. So it's structured very well in that fashion. So that's kind of the main difference there between the $1 Million Case Study and Academy. All right. The next question was from Start to Finish Podcasting. Does the Keyword Scout and the Listing Builder come with the purchase of the Jungle Scout app? Yes, they both do. Next question is from Chris. Hi Jungle Scout, any news when Keyword Scout will be ready for the UK? Thanks. Well, it's actually ready right now. So we launched this back on Tuesday. That was the webinar that I mentioned that Greg hosted. He does a complete demonstration of our Keyword Scout tool to help you with all your keyword research needs. And it is now available in multiple marketplaces, including UK. So definitely you can check that one out right now over at Jungle Scout. All right, another question that's also regarding Keyword Scout from Trident8. Does it also track seasonality? Essentially, yes, it does. So within Keyword Scout, you can now see historical data up to about, I think, a year back of the search volume, so how that has changed over time. And then you can also see a snapshot of popularity over the last 30 days and the last 90 days. So you can essentially, see how popular that keyword is, in these shorter periods of time, which are good indicators of the seasonality of a product. Right, we have a question here from Jen Finds Gems. Many people are talking about printing the labels and placing them on the products themselves. I thought that the items are typically sent from the supplier to Amazon. How do we get the UPC and Amazon number on the product if we are not shipping it ourselves? So that's a great question. Generally speaking, most suppliers will do this for you. So you don't physically have to apply the labels yourself. You get it created at the manufacturer, and then you can usually just send them the barcodes, the UPC barcodes, and they'll stick it onto your product for you. The alternate way to go about it is, Amazon can in fact do this, but it will cost 20 cents per unit. So usually you can get your supplier to do it, or another strategy is if you're doing customized packaging, which is a very good thing to do, then you can actually get that barcode printed onto the packaging so that nobody has to apply any stickers. So I hope that helps. All right, another question here from Harden Steel. Just a question about air shipping. I live in Canada, going to sell in the US. Can I use my home address as my ship from address? And what if Amazon gives me more than one location to ship to? That's perfectly fine to use your own home address as the ship from address. I guess it depends where your product is coming from. If it's coming direct from the manufacturer, whether that be China or some other country, then I would use that address as your ship from. But if you're getting it sent to your house first, or if you're manufacturing the product yourself, then you could absolutely use your own home address as the ship from address. And then what if Amazon gives me more than one location to ship to? Essentially, it would be the same thing. The ship from address shouldn't really change. It might just be a matter of you may have to split your shipment into 2 or 3 loads and send it to these individual addresses. All right, so that covers the pre-submitted questions and comments that have come into Jungle Scout. Thank you to you guys for submitting those. Now I'm gonna dive into the chat box and start answering some of your questions. All right, let me rewind back to the start. Okay, so I've got a question here from Craig. Should I trademark my company name or my brand product? First product launch, afraid of hijackers, etc. Good question, Craig. This depends on whether you're doing this for the sake of getting Amazon brand registry, which is what I'm assuming here, as you're mentioning that you want to have protection against hijackers. And getting Amazon brand registered is a good first step for doing that. So in terms of what to trademark, I would say trademark your product's brand, okay? It doesn't really, when it comes to Amazon brand registry, that is what they require to have a trademark, the name that you're getting brand registered. So it doesn't really matter about you as a legal entity, what your company name is. That can really be anything. For the sake of brand registry, you don't need that trademarked. All that really matters is the products that you're selling and what you're planning to call them, or what the brand names are for those. That is what you want to trademark. All right, let's see. What else have we got here? Thanks for the questions, guys. Make sure to keep them coming. Okay, you've got a good question here from Rob, who asks, hi Lenny, is it best to put your major keywords in the front end or the back end, and what's the reasoning? This is a good question. There are sort of mixed opinions about the importance of keywords, or the different areas of importance. What is fairly unanimous is that the title on your front end is the most important place to put your keywords or your main keywords. After that, the other areas that there are is the back-end keywords. Then you've got like your description and bullet points, right? Essentially, there are people that believe the back-end is the next place of importance, but there are sort of mixed opinions about the order of importance after the title. So that's kind of what I'll leave you with. Amazon hasn't come out and said specifically what the order of importance is, but it's fairly unanimous that title is most important, and then the other areas are perhaps all more or less the same. There are going to be different opinions there, but from my opinion and from what I've seen, that is that's kind of like the best of my knowledge. Okay. What other questions do we have? Joseph is saying, thanks for my shirt. No problem. I hope you enjoy it. You'll have to like take some photos and tag us on Instagram or something when you get the JS shirt. Okay, so I've got a question here from Autumn who asks, how do I figure out FBA fees? Is Amazon shipping included in FBA fees? Good question. So there's a couple of ways to figure out your FBA fees. Amazon actually has their own FBA fee calculator, or you can calculate FBA fees as well as fees if you are fulfilling yourself, or FBM. So if you just type in, I think it's like Seller Central FBA calculator or profit calculator, basically that page will appear and it will take you to a page inside of Seller Central. The other good news is that Jungle Scout also has a profit calculator inside of our tool, and that makes it very easy as well to calculate. You essentially put in your product cost or your product and shipping cost to Amazon, or what you call your landed cost, and then you also put in your product price, okay? And then using, basically like you'd pull a listing that is of the product that you're planning to sell, and then based off of those dimensions and so forth, the weight and dimensions, it will calculate the FBA fees based on the price that you enter and the product cost, okay? So you can do it within Jungle Scout or you can do it within Seller Central. In terms of is Amazon shipping included in the FBA fees? Yes, in terms of their fulfillment costs. So the cost for them to take it off their shelves at their fulfillment center and send it out to customers. That is included. What's not included is the shipping cost from your manufacturer into Amazon's warehouses. So that cost is on you and is external, but then the cost to send it to the customer is included in the FBA fees. All right. Okay, I got another question here from Autumn. Let's see. If I set my PPC at $10 a daily bid limit for 10 words for 90 days, doesn't that amount up to $9,000? So I'm not sure which example you're referencing. I'm assuming it's an example that either myself or Greg or someone has made on our channel, or maybe in the $1 Million Case Study. So if you're talking about a bid amount, keep in mind that that's always the maximum amount that you'll pay. I'd say it's probably very, very, very unlikely that you'd ever pay $10 per click for, probably any product. Maybe a super crazy competitive one, but probably not even then. I'd say it's a lot more common, let's say up to $1 or so, or some competitive products might be up to like a couple of dollars, or maybe $3, $3, $4, $5 is getting pretty competitive. But generally speaking, I'd say, just to give you a number, I'd say like $1 or under is probably more common as a bid, as a cost per click average. But let me just see if I'll just reread this again. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're asking here, because I'm not sure whether you're referring to a daily budget for your entire campaign. Because let's just assume that you've got a campaign with 10 keywords in it and you're setting a budget for that entire campaign. And let's say that you set that to $10 total. It splits that $10 amongst all of those keywords. It's not $10 per keyword inside of that account. So if that was the case, a campaign with 10 keywords in it, you've set a daily budget to $10 and you run that for 90 days, assuming you use up all of that budget, that would be $900, okay? So you don't multiply it by per keyword, if that makes sense. I hope those two different examples cover the question that you're asking. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna bring this question up. So Error 404 asks, I have some pens for sale. I don't want to add as a new product. I want to add as existing product in Amazon. Can I add it in any pen category in Amazon, or I need the exact same pen which is in Amazon? Okay, this is a good question. So essentially, if you want, the only way you could sell this on an existing listing is if you've got that exact pen. You've got that exact brand name of that pen. You can't sell kind of a new or a different, just generic pen on someone else's brand. If you've got something generic that's unbranded, then you would need to create a new listing and give it your own name and so forth. So yeah, the only way you can sell on an existing listing is if you've got that specific brand's product. All right. Okay, here's a question from Joe who asks, I'm just seeing Jungle Scout for the first time. Can you give me an idea of how it would help my Amazon sales? Joe from India. Well, thanks for asking, Joe. I'll keep this quite brief as there are plenty of other videos that kind of showcase our tools and what we do. But really, we're building out an all-in-one solution for sellers. So as a lot of you know, we started out in product research and really kind of like perfected that process. We've now got a whole bunch of seller tools in there, and we're actually in the middle of launching 8 new features in 8 weeks. This is week 4 this week, so we've still got 4 more weeks of new features that are coming, and all of these features are designed to help sellers that already have listings up as well. So we cater to people that are both starting out but are also now established sellers. So some of the things that we can do, we can help you launch your product with things like promotional giveaways and email campaigns. We've got a keyword research tool which can help in really all areas, from even product research, but it can help a lot with optimizing your listing. It can help you with your advertising, your PPC efforts. We've just launched sales analytics, so now you can see the profitability of your business all within this dashboard. And we've got a whole bunch of features, as I said, that are coming up. So really, yeah, we've got features to cater or help you in sort of every area of running your Amazon business. I hope that gives you a bit of an idea, Joe. Okay. All right, so I'll just quickly address this question from MD, who says, so is that possible to improve the Jungle Scout account with a sync now button so that anyone can anytime sync their account with the existing setting? I don't know the specifics behind how this works in the back end of Jungle Scout, MD, but essentially his question, I think I saw it in the chat box earlier, was he was a Jungle Scout customer and then added his Seller Central account, his MWS keys, and then he stopped his account and then has come back and is looking to resync his account. I actually thought there was a way that you could just resync, essentially resync your account so that you can transition back into Jungle Scout easily. I don't know offhand, but I just wanted to kind of like do a quick shout out to you and just say, I'd reach out to our customer support if you're having any issues resyncing your account. I don't know the process specifically, but our customer support team can definitely help you out with that one. Okay. All right, so what's this question? We have one from RSA who asks, what about if you have multiple products? Can you have different brand names under one LLC, or do you need approval from Amazon for each brand? Long story short, you can absolutely have different brands under one LLC. Okay, the LLC it is kind of separate to the brands that you're the brands that you're creating. So you absolutely can have multiple brand names. If you're looking to get them all brand registered, essentially that would require a trademark separately for each one. So that does become a bit more expensive, which is where we'd recommend trying to limit the number of brands that you have. One good strategy is to try to come up with a brand name that you can sell lots of different products from different markets in. That way you only have to go through the trademarking and brand registry process once, or at least just minimize the number of brands that you have. But you can have multiple brands. All right, question here from Alex. I have 3 color variations on a product. Do I use the same exact keywords and separate PPC on each color, or under parent master listing ASIN? Okay, so I suppose like backing up to editing these listings, essentially each of the variants, or they're called child ASINs, have their own individual listing. So right off the bat, when you're editing this in the back of Seller Central, as you're probably aware, they all have separate listings that you can edit. So you can give them all their own title, description, photos, etc. Then when it comes to, let's say PPC, you can set up a PPC campaign and add all of your variations to that one, campaign or the one ad group. But it's recommended to try to split them up as much as possible. So you can put them all together in one PPC campaign or ad group, but it's probably better to separate them into their own campaigns, or at least their own ad groups. That way you can directly see how blue is performing compared to red, and so forth. If they're all under the same ad group or campaign, then you don't know which one is performing better compared to the other. So for the sake of organization and sort of better analytics, I'd recommend kind of splitting them up. All right, hopefully that helps, but let me know if you'd like any more clarification. Okay. Here's a question from Paulette who says, how do I find the right product? Well, easy answer is Jungle Scout. If you haven't already, we've got the Jungle Scout Academy. So within Jungle Scout, I mentioned it earlier, it's a whole bunch of product tutorials on how to use our different tools, as well as a whole bunch of modules on just general Amazon education. So we've got a whole module there on product research, the things that you need to look for, as well as how to use our tools. So I'd highly recommend that as a resource to help you find the right product. All right. Okay, so I've got a little bit of clarification from Autumn from that question earlier of a daily limit of $10. So that makes total sense. Hopefully that explanation I gave makes sense to you. With a $10 daily budget, for one, you may not use up all of that budget depending on various things, but essentially that budget is split amongst or shared amongst all of the keywords, not per keyword. All right. Oh, shout out here to Just One Dime. The crew is in the office yesterday, and we filmed a whole bunch of great content with Greg. So stay tuned for a couple of great videos that are going to be coming to our channel and their channel very, very soon. All right. Autumn says, you nailed it. Thanks. Well, thank you. Okay. So we've got this next question from MD, which says, what will be the perfect time to start your campaign after the product arrives at the Amazon warehouse or after shipment? All right, so I'm gonna assume that you're talking about PPC campaigns. Essentially, the thing with PPC campaigns, it won't actually start advertising until the listing is active. So until the product actually reaches Amazon and has been kind of ingested and is actually available for sale, it won't start advertising. So you can't lose any money before the product has gone live. As for when is the best time to start your campaign, personally, I'm a fan of starting PPC campaigns from day one, just to be as ruthless and bullish to try to get as many sales as quickly as possible as soon as your product is active. Just in assisting that launch campaign, there are various things that you can do to help launch your product. PPC is one of them, and I'd recommend kind of trying all of these. I know that there are some people that might prefer to wait until, let's say, your listing has maybe got 4 or 5 reviews. That way, your PPC campaigns are more likely to convert, because obviously it's a lot tougher to get sales when your listing has 0 reviews. But regardless, even though you are gonna probably spend a little bit more money when you start out because of that, I'd still recommend doing it from day one, and really just chalk that extra money spent as just kind of a marketing budget to get your product launched. So essentially my answer would be start your PPC campaigns as soon as your product arrives and is ready to sell. Let's see, so I think I've got a follow-up comment here from Alex. That was good. Should keywords in Amazon listing search terms be exactly the same as keywords in PPC campaigns? Are you referring to the back-end keywords? If you're referring to back-end keywords, it doesn't have to be the same. But the good thing with PPC campaigns is that you can experiment with lots of different lists of keywords. For instance, you could have a campaign that has, for instance, like talking about Keyword Scout within Jungle Scout. You can type in the name of your product. Let's say it's a baby hooded towel. That will give you all the related keywords to that seed keyword. You can kind of export all of those, put that into a PPC campaign. That might be one campaign. You may want to set up another campaign where instead you put in your your competitor's ASIN, and now you're seeing all of their main keywords, and you might put that into a separate campaign and see how that performs in comparison to yours. Or you might even use some other third-party keyword research tools that, like Merchant Words or Keyword.io, and kind of create lists from there and create separate campaigns. So really it's a matter of experimenting with lots of different types of campaigns with different keywords. It doesn't have to be the same as what's in your backend or what's in your listing or anything like that. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so we've got a PPC question here. PPC questions are always very popular. This question comes from Allison. Thanks for the question. My PPC budget keeps running out. I start at $10 and increase up to $30, which I can't sustain. Even with the higher budget, it still runs out. Any tips or ideas how I could change settings to help? I suppose it's harder to give specific recommendations without seeing more info, but it really depends on how profitable is your PPC campaigns, because if it's very, very profitable, then it's kind of a good thing maxing out your budget, because if you're spending $10 or if you're spending $30 a day, but you're getting back $200 or $500 or something in return in sales, then it's absolutely worth it. You probably want to increase your budget to $50 or $100 or $200 a day. The problem really is when you're spending $30 a day or whatever the amount is, and your campaigns aren't profitable. So that's probably more the problem. That's what I'd be interested in knowing, Allison, is as a general rule of thumb, there are a couple of things that you want to look at, or one of the main things that you want to look at is your ACoS, so your advertising cost of sale. So for instance, if your product is selling at $20 and it costs you $5 in advertising to get one sale, then you've got an ACoS of 25%. So you need to know what your ACoS is. Then what you also need to know is kind of your break-even point of your product. So let's say you, again, selling that product for $20. When you take away Amazon's fees, let's say that's $5, and then let's say your product cost is another $5, that means that it costs you $10 and you get $20 back. So you make a profit of $10 organically. Then using the PPC example, if it then costs you an additional $5 to make a sale, then you still have $5 profit, okay? So it's still profitable. But if, let's say, it costs you $12 in, $12 PPC or advertising to get that sale, then you're actually losing $2 per sale, okay? So you need to know what your break-even ACoS is. In the example I've just given, where $20 product, it costs you $10 to get it there, then your ACoS is 50%, which means that, or your break-even ACoS is 50%, meaning you can spend up to an ACoS of 50% in your advertising without losing money. So those are the two things that I'd get you to calculate, is like, what is your break-even ACoS, and then what is your ACoS within your campaigns. As long as it's under that number, then I'd consider those profitable campaigns, okay? So that's probably the greater question there. If you do have that information, feel free to drop it in, and actually, it looks like you've got a comment there following up. That's correct, Lenny. The campaigns are not profitable. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, I guess there's kind of like there's a number of things that you could do to troubleshoot profitability. Let's say that you've got an ACoS of 80%, 100% or more, which is, likely not profitable at all. Things I would do is I would open up your campaigns and then your ad groups so that you're breaking it down to the keyword level and you're seeing all the keywords that are within that budget. I'd kind of rank that by ACoS descending and trying to figure out, where are you losing money. You might be spending a lot of money on a couple of keywords that might have an ACoS of 200% or something crazy. It might come down to, you've got a couple of keywords that are costing you a lot. Basically, if you look at it at a keyword level, I would be optimizing and adjusting the ones that are costing you the most. You might want to just pull back the bidding, the bid amount. You might be paying, let's say, $1.80 per click. You might then drop that back to $1.50 and see how that affects things, or be a little bit more ruthless, drop it back to $1 or under, so that you're still bidding on those keywords, but you're not bidding as much. That means you won't get as many impressions, you probably won't get as many clicks overall, but it stops you from losing quite so much money. So essentially that's what I'd be doing, looking at a keyword level and adjusting from there based on the ACoS and how much you're spending on those keywords. If you do want to see more in-depth processes for optimizing PPC campaigns, we are going to release a module within the Academy very soon. In the meantime, there's actually a great episode of the $1 Million Case Study that Greg and Rolando hosted. That's on YouTube right now. So if you go to our channel, go to the $1 Million Case Study playlist. I think it's like episode 16 or 17. They do a great episode on how to optimize your PPC campaigns. So I'd recommend checking that one out, Allison. And Greg gives some really great guidelines as to exactly the steps to perform. So hopefully that resource helps you out. All right, and I think I just answered it, but the question is, can JS give PPC strategies in the JS Academy? Absolutely, we're planning on it. We've got a lot of that content filmed and it's just being edited at the moment. So fingers crossed you'll see that in Academy in the next sort of couple of weeks. All right. Cool. Rob's question is, when you first launch, would you use the exact same keywords with an exact match as you would with a broad match? That's a good question. There are, I suppose, different ways to approach PPC. So I know, for instance, that Greg's strategy, he likes to keep it really simple. And so Greg will take the exact same set of keywords and just create a broad phrase and exact match campaign for each of them right off the bat, and then just kind of adjust each one from there and see which ones are performing best, or see which keywords perform best in which match types. The other way to go about it, which is a little bit more time intensive, is to essentially start out with a broad match and then put all your keywords in the broad match, let that perform for a while, a week or two, or however long you need, and then start moving the best performing keywords from there into a phrase match and exact match type. So you really can go either directions. The first way that I mentioned is more hands-off, quicker to get running, more hands-off. The second way is a little more targeted. It probably will save you some, like the upside here is that it will save you some money in kind of throwing, mud against the wall generally and seeing what sticks. So it's a little bit more targeted, takes a little bit more time, but you may save some money taking that approach. So hopefully that kind of answers your questions. Really, either way is fine. All right. Okay, good question here from Scott. Once again, PPC. How long do you let the PPC run before fine-tuning the keywords? That's a great question, because with PPC, it can take a couple of days for those results or those sales to be attributed to PPC. So essentially, whenever I'm checking PPC, I kind of disregard the last couple of days worth of data because it's probably still being updated. So essentially, the point here is that the more time you allow, the better. Now, this does depend a lot on how quickly your sales are coming in. I would personally say, if I'm starting out new, I'd aim to maybe leave it a week. I'd keep a little bit of an eye on it after, days 3, 4, 5, 6, just to make sure that nothing really crazy is happening and you're losing a whole ton of money. But as much as possible, I'd be trying to hold out for at least a week or so before making any changes, because again, there is kind of like a delay of 2 or 3 days there. So it's better not to judge too quickly. It's better to let it play out and collect more data. Once you're well established and you've been running PPC campaigns for a while and you're optimizing on a more regular basis, or you're making changes, I'd definitely wait at least a week or two before judging the changes that you've made. If you're going in and making changes today and then checking it tomorrow, you really haven't allowed enough time for those changes to be implemented. So, as a rule of thumb, I'd say aim for at least a week. All right. Okay, so we've got this question from Alex. A particular keyword on exact match is at 150% ACOS, and on broad match is 50%. Yeah, you can often see that exact match keywords are more expensive. Maybe like more people are probably bidding on that one. It's just kind of more competitive because it's more targeted. So that's like fairly common to see. I'm not too surprised by that. I've seen that quite a bit myself. All right. I'll take 1 or 2 more questions. If you guys have any, make sure to drop it in the chat box. I think I've gotten through a whole bunch there. So yeah, I'm just taking calls for any last questions. Drop them in the chat box now. Otherwise, what I'll leave you with is to check out next week's webinar with Greg on Tuesday at the same time as today's live stream, actually. And so Greg will be unveiling another brand new feature within Jungle Scout, trying to make our tool as best as we can for you guys. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel below this video. We're releasing a whole bunch of content here every week. And if you want to get notified every time we go live or Greg goes live, make sure to hit that little bell icon next to the subscribe as well, so that you never miss any of our video content. All right, now after my shameless plug is over, I've got another question here from Joe. For which country does Amazon does JS support? Does JS support any other online shops? Great question. So let's see. We support a whole bunch of marketplaces. So does JS support any other online shops? No, we essentially we cater to Amazon sellers, but essentially using our product research tools. Amazon is such a huge online market, and a huge percentage of sales online occur on Amazon. So you can absolutely use product research on the Amazon marketplaces and apply that to other e-commerce shops and so forth. So you can absolutely use Jungle Scout to verify demand for products that you intend to sell in other marketplaces. In terms of the marketplaces that we support, we've got the US, of course, then we've got Canada, Germany, Spain, France, India, Italy, Mexico, and the UK, okay? So all of our product research tools support those marketplaces. When it comes to some of our other seller tools, some of them only support the US, and then some others support a variety of different marketplaces. I mean, eventually we're aiming to support all marketplaces with all tools, but at the moment we're just kind of rolling them out as quickly as we can. But we do support up to 9 marketplaces, definitely in the Find Product section, and then we're rolling out more and more throughout the other tools. Alrighty, Rob is asking, how often are the Academy videos loaded up? Weekly, monthly? We're aiming for weekly. So basically it'll be between weekly or bi-weekly at this point. We should have another module that is going up, I think, any day now. I know that we've got 2 modules that are coming out very soon. So I think we will have 2 modules in the next 2 weeks. But we're going to be releasing them. Our aim is to get to 1 per week, which I think we'll be able to do very, very soon. So stay tuned for that one. All right, guys, I hope today has helped you out. I hope my answers have given you guys some value. Again, make sure to subscribe if you have enjoyed today's episode, and give me a big thumbs up. Until next week, all the best with the rest of your week. Happy selling on Amazon, happy jungle scouting, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.